Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. This is HD Starcraft, and I am back for the final matchup here between Hyun, the blue Zerg player, in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, Newkirk Precinct, and his opponent, of course, is my Insanity Stardust, the red Protoss in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. And what can I say except this has been an absolutely incredible series of games. And the thing is, Stardust, his play style is just so aggressive. In fact, he doesn't have the words conservative or passive or really even macro to the late game in his vocabulary. It doesn't exist. All he knows is attack, 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 win, 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 and he does it all, man. He's been able to tie up this series now at 2-2. He's just a phenomenal Protoss player with just a killer instinct. And really, this has just been an incredible set. I mean, I've got to say, awesome PvZ. It is going to come down to the rubber match. And Hyun here, I've got to say, has been playing really good as well. And he's been put to the test. He really has been. Whether or not he can hold off that aggression and then take it to the late game, where I think he's got a slight edge over Stardust. So we'll have to see what happens here on this map. This, I'm told, is the game to watch. So this is the reason why I casted the entire set, obviously. And really every game, mostly every game here, I think, has been a game that you want to watch. So really, really fun, and hope you guys have enjoyed the casting so far. Stardust now going to be bringing his probe over, and unfortunately for him, just a tad too late because Hyun did go for the 15 hatch. And I'm really curious here. What are we gonna see out of Stardust? Like every game when I watched with him playing, it's always kind of like, hey, what is Stardust gonna do this time around? And like I said, he could do a lot of things. He could go proxy Stargate. He can do one base all-ins. I think this time around that's out of the options, out of the playbook. But he can certainly do a lot of nasty things, as you guys have seen in his countless games against Jaedong, and here in this set as well. So, what will happen? Hyun is going to be going for a very quick third hatchery. Wow, that is, that's totally standard in most Zerg versus Protoss, but I don't think a game against Stardust is standard. I think it's anything but. And Hyun is going to have to really watch his butt here in order to make sure he doesn't get owned by something that Stardust is probably cooking. And now will he actually bring this probe over to the top right-hand side to check for that hatchery? Not quite yet. He's actually just kind of dilly-daddling around outside of the natural expansion. All right, so yeah, just keep your eyes out on that production scoreboard for both these players here. We can really get a good bird's eye view as to what these players are planning to do. You'll note that, of course, Hyun is keeping this Overlord in here until he sees a Cybernetics core finishing, because really until that point he cannot get attacked. Well, the Photon Cannon can't attack it, but he could just scoot it out of range a little bit, and he'll keep a nice tab as to what Stardust is doing at the front door. Meanwhile, this probe is going to make its way over to the hatchery, and here we go, man. I can already feel it. I can feel the brainwaves emanating from Stardust here. He's thinking, all right, what can I do to punish this hatchery, to take it down in the quickest amount of time possible, or just punish Hyun in general for going for a quick third. Now, like I said, this map is huge. It is very big. Typically you do see Zergs go for a late game style. Will maybe Stardust will switch it up. Maybe for this 5th and final game, he will show the world that he can play macro, that he can sit back, get a third, and kind of transition from there. I would, like I said, I'd love to see a long game here between these two players. And here comes a Zealot and a Probe. They're making their way over to the third hatchery. Looks like this is just the standard scout for Stardust. He likes to send out the initial Zealot just to find out what's going on, and he can get a little bit of damage done, but I think this time around, there is a pack of Zerglings there, and that Zealot quickly hiding inside the mineral pack. And it is going to be able to take out a few Zerglings, but it is going to eventually go down. And you know, he's just making the most out of a bad situation there. That Zealot and likely the probe would have died had he stayed. And so he decided to stick the Zealot there and get as many kills, you know, as he possibly can. Meanwhile, the Overlord was not pulled out of the way. Hyun has actually opted to sacrifice this Overlord in you know, in an attempt to find out what's going on. He even sends a second one in here, and he will see that Twilight Council that was spotted. Now, Stardust also saw the Overlord coming in, and so Stardust can now say, all right, I know you saw my Twilight. Will he opt to cancel it here and maybe just throw down 5 or 6 gateways and go for it? It doesn't look like it. He is going to stick with Twilight. And he is gonna, I think he's gonna go for that build that he did so successfully against Jaedong. That is the 3 bases, but then an awkward attack with +2/+1. And yes, I think it is going to be that indeed. Now, you know, if Hyun has been studying Stardust's playbook, and has been watching the games that Stardust plays against Jaedong and countless other Zergs, I'm sure Hyun knows what's going on here, but he is going to be going for a 4th hatchery. Now, the way to counter this is Roach Hydra. You need to get a lot of Roaches and Hydras out on the map. Jaedong showed that that is the way to deal with this, and you need to keep up with upgrades. You can see that Hyun is getting +1/+1, so he is going to be staying on top of his upgrades, and if he can get a lot of Roaches and Hydras out, then he should be in an okay spot. But here comes Stardust. He is beginning to make that push. Oh, it's so scary when you see a Protoss doing this, and you know, +2 upgrades is on the way here. That is +2 ground weapons, +1 armor, and the reason why this is so powerful is because even if the Zerglings have 1 armor, the Zealot will still 2-shot it, and so it is just an incredible, you know, execution of a build order here. If Stardust can pull it off, he is going to be building up an Immortal. He has another Immortal on the way, and he's actually adding on a Templar Archives. Now, this is interesting. We don't see him usually get the Templar Archives at this point. So I'm thinking maybe he's gonna wait a little bit, add in some Archons. That would be quite clever. The only thing is Archons, they're okay against Roaches and Hydras. Maybe he's going to get Storm instead, which I think is a better option. Since Storm happens at a range and Archons require to be in melee. 1 hallucinated Phoenix going in here for the Scout. It won't see anything too crazy, but this time around it will see the Roach Warren and the Hydra Den and an Infestation Pit on the way up as well. So yeah, Hyun knows that this is the build and he knows what's coming. He's getting a lot of Hydras, and in response, Stardust is going for Storm, so he is adapted. And indeed, he is going to be going for Psionic Storm. I really like the idea. And I like what Hyun did right here as well. He destroyed the building, which basically just blocks off 1 extra pathway over to that pocket expansion, making it a little bit more easily defendable, I think, from a Zerg perspective. And we do have muscular augments on the way here. Hydra range has already been researched, so this is primarily a Hydra-based army. The only thing is Hyun's probably thinking right now, where's the attack? I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. I know it's coming. But in fact, what Stardust is doing here is waiting for Psionic Storm. He's building up a large load of Templars here, and they are going to have Psionic Storm ready to go. Now, that Changeling did run in. I think that Hyun saw what he saw the Templars, and he did see that, you know, from that, when you see Templars, a lot of times you want to start to produce more Roaches. That is a good way to counter the Storm. You can also, I guess he's going to go for Swarm Hose here, so that's not a bad strategy either, getting some Swarm Hose out on the field. You know, Templars, you know, you've got to make a decision. Do I waste my Storm on the Locusts, or do I try to hit the Swarm Hose? And a lot of times, Templars aren't that great against Swarm Hose, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens, but man, this is actually, it could be a late game PvZ here, because Stardust still hasn't pushed out yet. He is still sitting on 3 bases. This is actually the first time I've ever seen him sitting back on 3 bases and actually macroing quite hard, and he might just go for a 4th Nexus here at this point. I don't really know if he's going to attack or not. It looks like he might be planning for it. He does have a lot of Psionic Storm saved up here, and he's adding on 2 more Templar as well. Ooh, this is really going to come down to whether or not Stardust can land those Storms and hit those Hydras, and a lot of times Force Fields will help that as well. Stardust is going for a 4th Nexus. He is going to be going to the 4th base, and Hyun here getting ready to do battle on the creep. with +2/+2 about to finish up, so he is going to have a slight upgrade advantage against the Protoss here. And I actually think even with Stardust having this much Templars in his army, I don't think it's enough to actually defeat the Zerg army. I do feel like maybe at this point it wouldn't be a bad idea to throw down a robotic support bay and start to tech up to Colossus, because you know, typically you want to have a nice mixture of area of effect abilities, and just Psionic Storm by itself, it's good, but having Colossus mixed in there as well is better. So if you can get some Colossus, I definitely feel like that would help immensely if he wants to do battle here. And I don't think I've ever seen Stardust go for a Colossus before. That's how strange his strategies are. He is adding on a lot more gateways, but it isn't too unusual to be seeing that many coming up when a Protoss has a 4th base, because you do need a lot of production in order to eat up that surplus of money you're going to be building up. And look at this, man. Both players are pretty much maxed out here. Upgrades are at 2-2 for the Zerg and 2-1 for the Protoss. Stardust neglecting his upgrades just a little bit. And remember what I said in the... He is actually getting 3-2 now. But remember what I said. Stardust, I think he's not as versatile in the late game as he is in the early game. I think his strength is the early game. So we'll see now if he can prove me wrong. And we'll see what happens. Here we go. A big battle is about to go down here. Storms are going to be used on those Locusts. But like I said, that's usually a losing battle using Storm on Locust. That's energy, although it is replenishable. Those Locusts will just keep coming at you. So Stardust really needs to be careful how much Storm he ends up using here. There is a Dark Shrine on the way, so we are going to be seeing GTs, of course. Spire also coming up, 3-3 on the way for the Zerg. So the Zerg is on Hive Tech. A Warp Prism has been implanted, and it looks like it was able to kill... No, actually nothing. Stardust hasn't actually loaded off anything to kill any workers yet. You'll see only one worker has gone down this game, and this Warp Prism is going to die. Meanwhile, the Protoss army pushing into the middle of the map, looking for an opportunity to attack. That is a lot of Swarm hosts there, though, for Quantic Hyun, and he is going to go ahead and burrow them underground, allow them to spew out their Locust payload, and that is really, I think Hyun right now is just saying, well, I've got creep. You know, I've got defensive advantages. I've got a lot of Swarm hosts here. I'm just going to stay underground and make sure that if a battle does happen, I've got the upper hand by surrounding from multiple sides. And he does have to keep these Warp Prisms under control, though. He doesn't want to let a Warp Prism leak on by into his main base, which right now it is on the way into the main. Meanwhile, though, these Hydras, oh my god, they're occupied with this. He unlocked himself out. He locked himself out and lost a bunch of Hydras. Perhaps destroying that building earlier on was a mistake, and that was pretty bad for Hyun right there. Oh my god, that's exactly the break Stardust needed. Now he's gonna think, what's the best opportunity here for Stardust? I think pushing in and attacking right now would be pretty good, because the Zerg army is trying to replenish, but with that many Locusts waiting there and Stardust not wanting to waste a Psionic Storm, it looks like he is going to pull back, but he was able to unload some Zealots through the use of his Warp Prism inside the main base right now. Going to be able to kill off a Queen. And how many workers have gone down? Still not that many. And even the units lost tab not reflecting that many units have been lost either. But that's okay with me, because I can tell this is going to go into the late game. Both players have numerous numbers of bases, and their armies are maxed. They're starting to surplus bank minerals and Vespine gas, and that's always a good setup for a entertaining StarCraft matchup. We do have 12 Corruptors on the way here. As well for Hyun, so do look out. We will probably be seeing some Broodlords pretty soon. Here comes Stardust once again pushing up to the top, and I actually feel like right now Stardust might be getting the upper hand in terms of bases. He's on, you know, about 6 bases. Hyun is only on 4. I'm not entirely sure what the delay is with Hyun not getting enough hatcheries. Maybe because Stardust has such good map control here, but Hyun needs to do something about this. It looks like he's thinking about engaging here, but he doesn't have Broodlords ready to go. And I'm not entirely sure why he doesn't have Broodlords yet. He should have a Greater Spire. He does, but it looks like maybe it's just because he's maxed out. Now he cleared up some supply, and he is going to be adding in a couple of Broodlords. Just a massive potential battle about to go down here. Stardust warping in a ton of more charge lots. And here comes Hyun, actually just trying to get those chain fungals down. Storm's also coming off to deal with these Locusts, obviously, and a Warp Prism gets destroyed. Not able to get in the main base. That's where the rest of Hyun's army is. back at home protecting against the potential drops. And here we go, the Broodlords have been called into service, and it looks like Stardust is going to lose this battle. Oh my god, but he does blink the Stalker Sword, trying to snipe off these Broodlords. But I think that Stardust might be biting off a little bit more than he can handle. That is a lot of Zerg units here, and I do believe Stardust is going to lose this battle. One critical storm does land down, though, on these Swarm Hosts Locusts. But at the end of the day, I think that Hyun is going to win this battle. In the meantime, kills off another Warp Prism back in the main base. What a beautiful play by Hyun, leaving those Hydras back at home. Some Corruptors forced to be canceled here and pulled away. And Stardust has to pull out. Stardust has to pull away. He's only at 130 supply. Huge losses for him. Almost 15,000 in resources. And the Zerg Hyun, just a huge victory for him right there. The only thing, though, is Hyun doesn't have that many bases. He's only got 4 hatcheries here, 4 bases to mine with, whereas the Protoss has 6. So, you know, even though Stardust lost that battle, it's like he's got money to play with for days. And really, I think Stardust is still winning this game. Hyun's got some catching up to do, and perhaps maybe Hyun playing this game a little bit too cautiously, thinking, hey, the all-in has got to be happening before 4 bases, so I'm just going to build up an army and wait for the attack. And because of that mindset, Hyun never thought, oh, maybe Stardust is going to go into 6 bases plus and, you know, play a late game. And because of that, I think Hyun has kind of dug himself into a little bit of a hole here. He needs to hatch up and get more bases going. Oh, here comes another Warp Prism. Ugh, that's going to go down. Ugh, all those Zealots dying as well. So every time those do fall down, it's of course a nice victory there for Hyun. But most importantly, he needs to claim this hatchery, and he needs to claim this one at the top side. A couple of changelings coming in here. Gonna try to send back some detailed scouting information, and I think that's the first glance that Hyun gets over at this top base, and Hyun doesn't even know that the pocket expansion has been taken. So this is probably one of the reasons why Hyun has been so delayed in getting more bases. Now, let's see what these locusts can do. They are about to expire, so not much. But now Hyun knows, okay, I'm dealing with a 6-base Protoss. I need to get more hatcheries now, and he needs to do it immediately. A couple of pylons are going to be back here, though, which may hinder Hyun getting an expansion there. Meanwhile, Stardust is going to push in through the bottom. At the same time, Hyun also pushing into the pocket expansion, and it looks like both players might be able to take out a base each here, and is actually going to pull away. I think he should have left his Locust to at least finish off that Nexus, and so he's going to lose a base. Oh my god, Hyun is just falling apart here to Stardust, and Stardust is warping in more reinforcements through the Warp Prism. He is inside the main base. Now, it looks like Hyun will probably clean up most of the Zerg army here. He's just got so many Broodlords and Swarm Hosts. But in the meantime, you know, Stardust is going with these little assassination maneuvers, and if he can take out this Greater Spire, that would be absolutely huge. Meanwhile, more units reinforcing into the main of the Zerg, and the Greater Spire has fallen. The Greater Spire has fallen. Not good for Quantic Hyun. And I feel like even though Stardust, yeah, he loses his entire army, or most of his army at the very least, I think he's done some pretty good damage here. You know, he kills off the Greater Spire, but the thing is, Hyun actually kept most of his Swarm Hosts and his Broodlords alive. So Hyun, if he wants, I think he could probably make a counterattack happen now. We'll see what happens, but Stardust is warping in some more Zealots and reinforcements up at the top side. Looks like he's going to be making another attack, but there's a lot of Locusts coming out here. Gonna have to pull away. Oh, that is a scary sight to behold when all those Locusts pop out from the from beneath the ground. And meanwhile, Stardust sending in some Zealots over here, but they immediately run into a wall of spines. The upgrades are pretty much maxed across the board. Just flyer for Zerg only at 1/1, and shields for Protoss only at level 2. Meanwhile, just skirmishes happening all over the place, and wow, this is gonna be a sick PvZ. It's still very, very close. 26 minutes in, still no idea who's going to win, but we do have the Adrenal Glands upgrade on the way here, and do we have a replacement for the Greater Spire? Don't see one yet, and really this is kind of the situation we're in right now. Stardust has most of the bases. He's been able to harass Hyun relentlessly, but Hyun has the larger army. I feel like he hasn't lost that many Broodlords or Swarm Hosts. But the thing is, Broodlords and Swarm Hosts are very slow, so he has a difficulty dealing with the constant skirmish playstyle of Stardust. He can't be in position to defend at all locations at once, and he's also trying to attack at the same time. So it's very hard for him to do this. And yeah, I mean, I think Stardust is just doing a brilliant job of, you know, holding down his bases, not losing anything. Photon cannons obviously help quite a bit in that regard, and also attacking at the same time. Really, just showing, you know, his mentality. Even in the late game, it's all about aggression. There is no passive, there is no conservative for Stardust. So, wow, what a game. Looks like Stardust is coming down to the bottom side, checking for Hyun's hatchery. No hatchery has been taken yet at the 5 o'clock or the 7 o'clock. And these forces for the Protoss side pushing in here, gonna try to take out this hatchery once again, and just really attacks happening all over the place. Like I said before, really pushing Hyun to the limit, and Hyun cannot handle the pressure, loses yet another expansion. And he's got to rebuild. He has got to rebuild. Meanwhile, Locusts are almost able to pummel down this Nexus. This next wave, I do believe, is going to finish this Nexus off. And finally, I guess at some point, Hyun's got to be able to kill off a Nexus. And it's going to happen now, I do believe. Unlikely that Stardust will be able to defend here with the forces he has remaining. Oh, but those Locusts expire just before they hit home. Meanwhile, a Warp Prism bringing itself into the main base, but it is immediately caught by Hydras. But enough reinforcements warping in to take it out. And it looks like Stardust has got some forces inside the Zerg main base. In the meantime, will these Locusts focus down the Nexus? Not sure why Hyun isn't doing it. He's just not paying attention, as there is multiple things going on across the map here, obviously. Meanwhile, the Warp Prism coming in once again, and Stardust is going to try to bring in some units, some Templar. The Nexus does go down. The Templars come through. Psionic Storm coming out as well. And the Hydra's getting absolutely owned, and Zealots being warped in as reinforcements. In the meantime, though, Hyun says, I'm done with this. I'm just going to attack and try to take out your army, bringing in the entire Terran lines as well. Infested Terrans all over the place. In the meantime, we do have these Protoss units that are still being warped in from the Warp Prism. The main base of the Zerg is under attack. And the question here is, will Stardust be able to do enough damage in order to cripple will Hyun be able to do enough damage to cripple Stardust? And we'll find out. He does have his main army pushing straight through the gut, been able to kill off 2 Nexi now. It looks like the entire Protoss army has relocated to the north side of Newkirk Precinct, and is now making its way down into the Zerg territories, looking to take out more buildings. In the meantime, the main base is being ravaged. There are literally, look on the minimap, there are units all over the place, ladies and gentlemen. I can't keep up with casting this. There's just too many things going on. Stalker's gonna be able to take out that hatchery. Probes, oh my god, probes! Gotta run away from those Locusts, and they do get out of harm's way. Meanwhile, the main base has been completely gutted inside out. Another Nexus is going to go down. It looks like that DT can hack and slash all day long. It will not be able to break through, but the main of Stardust, the natural and the main of Stardust are now under attack, and he has got to clear this off. Where, I mean, both of these players basically are in a base race. Both of their armies are on the other side of the map. Look at how many workers have gone down. The Zerg only has 12 or 10 drones left, and only the Protoss has about 40 probes remaining. And I think his probes are, I mean, a lot of them almost died to those swarm hosts earlier on, but I'm not too sure where they are now. And it looks like, yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a full-on base race. Hyun has stolen the Nexus expansion with his own hatchery, but he's only got 10 or so drones alive, so I mean, it's going to be pretty hard for him to get mining going back up again. Stardust, meanwhile, of course, stealing a base from the Zerg in the meantime, and here comes Stardust now pulling back his forces. It looks like he's going to try to get in position, I suppose, to defend his Nexus over here, but if you ask me, I do think Hyun is losing right now. He only has 5 drones. He has 1 hatchery located here. Stardust still has the main, the natural, and this exterior expansion, which, granted, it is about to go down, but nevertheless, I do think that that Hyun is in a pretty bad spot. The only thing is Hyun does have a lot of swarm hosts. In fact, 18 swarm hosts and 8 brute lords, so he's got this continual army that keeps spawning, and in a situation where you're low on money, where you're low on bases, this type of army fares very well. He's also got infested Terrans as well. This is literally the swarm, and will Stardust be able to win this fight? I don't think so. I think he's gonna lose. He does get a couple of storms and feedbacks off, but yeah, this is not looking good for Stardust. Committing to that attack was a terrible decision. He was fighting against like 50 Locusts, 25 infested Terrans and however many broodlings were coming down from the broodlords. So literally that was the definition of the swarm. So wow, what a game. And now Stardust gonna be gonna try to take out some of these overlords and to put Hyun under supply. Obviously not a bad decision, although Hyun is still at 114 over 112. Just goes to show how many forces, how much of his army has gone down this game. Finally, this Nexus has been taken out, and I think it would be a good idea here for Hyun not only to be droning up, he's basically restarting from scratch, but also to get these hatcheries, take this one over here and take this one over here and reset for I guess a restart to this match here in Starcraft, in this game here between him and Hyun. Both players have lost considerable number of workers as well, 22 and 7. But like I said, if we do go into a situation where things have to restart, I definitely feel like Hyun is at a disadvantage. He only has one base. He has less workers. Both players' production tabs right now are pretty much completely nullified, totally empty. But Stardust has the bigger army. Hyun has the bigger army, 113 supply compared to 55. So he has a much larger army working for him. And if we just look at the units tab once again, 18 broodlords, 18 swarm hosts, 8 broodlords, and 10 infestors. It is the definition of the swarm. And Stardust, I don't know what he really has going for him. He's just got an Archon and a few Stalkers. So, wow. Maybe Hyun, if he could start to attack now, not let the Protoss rebuild, this would be a prime time to go for it. Although, oh my god, look at how many Templars are being warped in. Whoa, man, that's a lot of Templars. And you know, the thing is, he has so much gas. He's got 1,800 gas saved up, so as does the Zerg. But, you know, in these desperate times, you know, they call for desperate measures, and Templars are a very nice use of, they're an efficient use of resources. And right now, efficiency is key. I would have liked to see him keep some of those Templars in Templar form to storm, but nevertheless, better than nothing. And you know, he's bringing in a lot of Archons here, but now he is out of minerals. So, ooh, I don't know. He really needs money, and I don't know where he's mining from. Honestly, he's got 21 probes. I have no idea where they are. He is going to try to attack here. And the entire Zerg army out of position, trying to come back in. Will Stardust be able to kill off this hatchery? This is absolutely critical. The Broodlords are not attacking. Oh my god, Hyun making a terrible mistake. They're flying over Archons is never a spot you want to be in, but it looks like he pulls away, and it looks like he will be able to eradicate the Protoss army. So Stardust does not take out this hatchery. Hyun keeps it alive, and Quantic Hyun with a great save right there. I mean, if he had lost this hatchery, it might have been game over. I think he would have just lost. He might have lost due to elimination. He doesn't really have that many buildings or drones for that matter. So that could have been a GG right there. And Stardust tried to go for it, but now I think he might have overextended himself, overexerted himself. I'm trying to find his probes here, and I mean, I know there are 21 probes, but they're just scattered. Literally, you know, there are 3 here, and I really have no idea. Well, there they are. There they are. So they are, they're doing a Congo line distance mining maneuver here from the top, but they could just get taken out here as they run across the Zerg army. And Stardust needs to bring these probes over here. That's the difficulty that he's faced with right now. And really, this Nexus, I think, is going to go down. So Stardust needs to find 400 minerals and build a new Nexus. Otherwise, he could just die because he's going to run out of money. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of spot, what kind of solution Stardust has for this late game scenario. But it looks like he's going to try to use Time Warp here and some DTs to try to take out the Zerg army once again, but there's just too many units, too many locusts, and Stardust with the unhappy, sad face, Hyun with the happy face. GG, well played. Stardust calls good luck, and Hyun is victorious. Oh my god, what a sick game that was. 40 minutes long. And Hyun was able to pull out the victory at the last minute. What a game. Hope you guys enjoyed. As always, if you guys have any sick replays, feel free to send them in to hdreplays@gmail.com. And make sure to subscribe at youtube.com/HDStarcraft. For now, this is HD, signing out.